Hey there, how are we doing, Scorpio? This is your weekly reading. This one is going to be for the 3rd, which is Monday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. I guess the 3rd to the 6th. Sorry, I had to think about it. All right, this one's going to be for my Scorpios. Okay, let's see. I should be back on Wednesday to do bonus readings to get you through the weekend. Hopefully they'll be on time this week, huh? Sorry, here we go. All right, for my Scorpios. Let's see what you get. What you got. Okay, we're opening up with the 3 of Cups, followed by the Tower, and then in the challenge position we have the 8 of Swords. So this is your backstory or your recent past. It would seem from these cards that there was definitely a tower that fell here in the recent past. It had something to do with friendships, though, more than, it wasn't like a relationship situation so much as it was a friendship. A friendship that you'd had for a long time that you never thought would end, and for some reason it seems as though it fell out from under you. This is what I see for the recent past. The challenge in this situation is the 8 of Swords, which is you just being up in your head. So you have no closure on exactly why this friendship ended, or, I don't know, something like that. You're really up in your head. So I don't know if you're blaming yourself or if you just haven't found closure. But either way, this looks incredibly painful. And this is the backstory that we're building on for the reading. So that's how this goes. But whatever this is, it's already happened. So we couldn't take it back because it's already come to pass, right? Okay, that's what I got there. So let's go forward. So what do we have in the current? In the current, I have the Fool, followed by Justice, and then I have the World card. Okay, so the current situation is very pivotal for you in general with 3 major arcana. The card that ends up being at the center of your read when I get all the cards out is going to be Justice. So from almost every direction, it somehow plays into the equation, okay? Okay, so currently we're opening with the Fool, so this is all about you taking a leap of faith. You're taking a leap of faith towards justice. And the challenge here is the World card. The World card standing for the end of a cycle. So I get the feeling that whatever the friendship dynamic is that fell apart in the past, I do believe the cycle that surrounds that situation has closed, or it is closing, okay? The Fool taking the leap of faith towards justice, I think this has more to do with you just wanting closure and you wanting your side heard. So it's like, for some reason, your side of the story isn't being heard or isn't being given any credit. So the justice coming through is that happening. You know what I'm saying? People understanding your side of the story or your side being heard, basically. And you managing to find closure in the situation is what I see. Okay, let's see what we get for the near future. I'm looking at 6 of Swords, 10 of Pentacles, and the Magician. Okay, 6 of Swords is about you managing to detach from the situation, which I feel like happens as soon as you manage to find this closure and feel as though justice is being served, you know, as the scales are being balanced. You manage to pull your energy back. Once you manage to withdraw your energy, then you can manage to sail your ship, which is your life, off onto calmer waters, you know. The 10 of Pentacles is the next card over, so I feel like you finally putting this behind you so that you can move forward then puts you on the right path to get to your 10 of Pentacles. So to your abundance, right? The card that we have here for the challenge is the Magician. Magician's falling out under the 8 of Swords in the World, and then the Magician. So there's a risk that you run here of, you are a powerful manifester, Scorpio. So there's a risk that you run of turning your manifestations negative, right? Versus trying to turn them positive. So it's like you can manifest wonderful things for your life, or you can spend all your time trying to manifest bad things for the person that hurt you here. But you can't do both, okay? So if you get yourself stuck in that rut where you're trying to constantly, I don't know, seek vengeance or trying to bring bad things to these people, you know, then you'll rob yourself of the ability to bring good things into your life, right? That's how this looks. I think that's what they're trying to warn you against. The bottom of the deck for this actual reading was the 5 of Wands, so you are very heavily conflicted here. There's a lot of emotion at play and a lot of disappointment and just a lot of almost being knocked off your square by the fact that this was something you thought you could truly count on, and then something has happened that's proven you can't, right? Okay, the cards behind that are the Ten of Wands and then the Ace of Swords. So the Ten of Wands is speaking of a heavy burden that you've been carrying as far as this situation goes. I do feel like your side of the story was not told, or wasn't told correctly, and that's part of what had you so burdened. But the Ace of Swords is the last card in that situation there. That's all about, that's the sword of truth. So the truth is going to be spoken. You know what I mean? You're going to get your turn here, is what it looks like. All right, let's see what else you got. So after that, we're pulling. What do we got? The Two of Cups, the Six of Wands, and Temperance. So this is something, this entire situation we're talking about here was absolutely a divine union. Okay, what that means is that it was a union that was it was meant to come together, and it did. It was meant to teach you lessons, and you were meant to teach them lessons. I believe all of that happened as well. Okay, it does not necessarily guarantee that it's a union that will last forever. And sometimes unions can turn karmic, which is possibly what happened in this situation. With the Six of Wands, this, and then it's coupled with Temperance. So the Six of Wands to Temperance tells me that this, it's almost like validation that you're waiting for. You're waiting for people to hear your side of the story, for people to understand that you weren't quote unquote the bad guy, or that this wasn't necessarily your fault. And I feel like maybe that's the way you've been portrayed in this. And so this is you having to be patient to finally gain that sense of recognition or validation, so that people understand where you're coming from and what happened. Okay? It is coming towards you, though. All right, so we'll get 3 more, and then I'll do the days of the week. Now you've got the Queen of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Moon. So the Queen of Cups is how you're presenting here. So you're presenting as somebody who's very loving, very nurturing, very intuitive, all the way to being psychic, okay? Sometimes you can be too empathetic. Other times you can have a hard time holding up your boundaries. I don't feel like either of those two elements are really coming into play right this minute. But when you're angry, you can also be extremely emotionally chaotic, right? You can cause a lot of emotional chaos for those around you. So I think that is you're kind of in your shadow side of being in the Queen of Cups right now. So it's something you just have to be mindful of, right? Because you don't want to rack up bad karma. You really don't. After that, I've got the Ace of Pentacles. This is all about a new opportunity that seems to be coming towards you right now. It is based somehow in money. The last card we're going to get in this whole reading right here is the Moon. It's just about you being cautious because you're not necessarily seeing everything clearly, okay? So just, it doesn't mean don't take action or that the offer coming towards you is not good. All those things could be true, but it's more about you being cautious and don't jump, you know, try to look before you leap type of stuff, okay? Just proceed with caution. Okay, so for Monday, you've got the Page of Wands and the Ten of Swords. I mean, you're still trying to deal with this betrayal on Monday, it looks like. So, there you have it. Tuesday, I've got you with the King of Cups and the Four of Cups. You're incredibly dissatisfied. And here again, I'm worried that you're functioning in your shadow side. So this is all about being very emotionally manipulative and vengeful, right? Okay, on Wednesday, we got you with the Sun and the Eight of Pentacles. This is all about it being illuminated to you, how much you were invested and how little they were. You know, so it's not the greatest energy, but it is still getting better, right? And Thursday, we've got you with the Ten of Cups. There you go, and the Nine of Swords. So you're all stressed out about trying to get to this sense of emotional fulfillment. I think some of you are worried it's never going to happen. I assure you it will, but it does look like it's a journey at this point. And this was a huge speed bump in the middle of this journey. But stay the course. It's going to be okay. It's going to work itself out, okay? All right, that's what I have for you this week. I hope this helps. Okay. Click, click.